How Bizarre is intended for mature, open-minded audiences only. If you are easily offended, we suggest you turn this wacky shit straight off. Okay, well, we got ourselves a bit of a kooky situation, so this will be a bit of a kooky show. Christopher you got called back into work as you were working on Weird Trivia for this particular episode, yeah?
Indeed, I was sitting right down, and well, what happened was, I had AC installed in my house today, and I said that to the boys, and John Marcus, like, it's not the Sahara Desert here, and I'm like, yeah, you're right, but house gets zero shade, and it's a two-story house, and every fucking summer, come summertime, it's like 11 degrees upstairs, and
yeah,
my eyes suffer, my kids suffers. It's like fucking terrible.
So yeah, the top floor, yeah.
Yeah. Well, now,
the
reason Christopher sounds like he's calling from a payphone circa 1963 is because he's driving home. I'm still not sure why he's quite so quiet. But
is it any different when I do this?
Do it a little longer.
No. Am I any louder now?
No.
Okay, cool.
Just don't crash, because you are driving right now, yeah?
Yes, I am. Hold on.
Well, that's better, right. Whatever you did.
Is it better?
Yeah, we get more car background noise, but we can hear you.
All right, well, I'll just mute when I'm not talking.
Sounds good. So, long story short, we won't be having Weird Trivia, but it's kind of funny that I had planned, not really planned on anything. It was going to be just a news roundup episode. Maybe it will be to some degree. But rather than missing another week, we thought we'd just get together and see what happens. But I have something that's a bit of a game-like. I'm going to present it in a bit of a game-like way. Man, there are just so many squirrels. I wish I could get the video to you guys right now. There's squirrels just dancing and jumping everywhere in the trees in front of me. Anywho, so we'll get through it. It'll be what it is. But before we move on, I do want to, and when Christopher does get home, he'll pop into this dude and get back on the regular mic. So first off, as you may recall, last week I was giving a listener some touching, heartfelt tributes after he came up to me and introduced himself. And, Tyson, the long-haul trucker who moved up here from Arizona. Well, he was so touched that he wrote this little note. Just listen to the latest episode. Thanks for the awesome call-out. I died laughing and had to play it for my family. Not a truck driver from Arizona. He's a general manager that moved here from Minnesota, I believe, and originally from Colorado. He says, my high school kids thought it was totally hilarious. I do spend a lot of time on the road. We have locations all the way to Kennewick. Honestly, though, I'll take the truck driver call out. I always wanted to be Jack Burton in Big Trouble in Little China. Signing off from the Pork Chop Express. I do appreciate a good Big Trouble in Little China reference, and yeah, I think I
responded to him, yes, sir. The check is in the mail.
John Mark runs the Instagram account and he forwards things on to us, but I think I was confusing two sets of feedback here, but hilarious. And I love that he had to gather the family round, like, come listen to how stupid this guy is that I literally met yesterday. It is kind of too bad on some levels that the bulk of the show's feedback goes to the guy with the traumatic brain injury. Although you never know what adventures I'll make up in filling in those blanks. But thanks for that, Pork Chop Express, and glad your fam could have a royal chuckle at my expense. And sorry to have gotten those details wrong. Yeah, somebody I talked to recently, maybe it was one of the emails, said something about long haul trucking, and I think that tied into something that Tyson said, and then it was just all jumbled in my poor dented brain. But anywho, hilarious. And I wish I could.
Big Trouble, also one of my favorite movies, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. I wish I could have seen the family all gathered around watching that or listening to it. Yeah, Big Trouble in Little China, absolutely one of the greatest movies of all time. And it's one of those movies where there's kind of nothing else like it. Like it really was ahead of its time in that just doing whatever the fuck it wanted to do sort of mentality with like a mainstream Hollywood movie. I mean, John Carpenter was a success at that point, of course, with Halloween, and I think The Thing had come out by then. Yeah, The Thing would have certainly been before Big Trouble.
Escape from New York too, right?
Probably, and
Yeah.
both with Kurt Russell.
Mhm.
And so he was a successful entity. Kurt Russell had been a movie star since he was a little kid. So it was a successful or it was a fairly big budget Hollywood movie, not a huge budget.
That
And
shit still holds up though if you watch it. Like the effects are actually pretty
that's
good to
kind
this
of
day. Like
that's kind of I think because it was so just gonzo. It's like that it almost felt like a parody. It was almost a parody of those kung fu movies, like the crazy ones. Like those are the ones John Carpenter really loved. It's got a really good commentary track, the DVD or the Blu-ray of Big Trouble in Little China. Although all the commentary tracks with John Carpenter and uh, Russell, I just said his name. Why am I spacing his name now?
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt.
And they're friends, so they just kick back and drink beers and smoke cigs and talk shit. And pretty cool. But that movie probably inspired a lot of the wacky movies that came later to some degree. And I'm not necessarily talking about Crouching Tiger, but there was we were just talking about Sucker Punch. Movies like that, or even God, I would say Scott Pilgrim. Just these movies that sort of are self-aware and they sort of step outside themselves a little bit, and they weren't afraid to make, it was not common to make your leading man, especially, a young, rugged Kurt Russell. You want to see him kicking ass. Well, he was the biggest buffoon in the movie. Of course, he still was heroic and brave. He was just dumb and bumbling through, it was all the other sidekicks and everybody around him that ended up really like getting shit done. And then he would just
yeah,
show
I always
up.
kind of felt like
genius.
Yeah, go
I always
ahead.
kind of felt like Chris Pratt would have been the good role for that, like a reboot of that. Like
Yeah.
the Star Killer or whatever he is in Guardians of the Galaxy has the same vibe to me as the Kurt Russell in Big Trouble in Little China.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see that. They were talking about rebooting it for a while. I don't think they did. I hope they don't. It's a franchise that doesn't need to. Well, it's not a franchise. It's just a standalone thing that doesn't need to be fucked with. But at the time, between those things that I just mentioned, and there was some hype behind it. In the industry, but they didn't know how to market it. They didn't know what it was. They tried to market it like it was a straight up action movie. This was the time of like Rambo and Commando and that kind of stuff, like serious, like violent.
Well, it settled more as a comedy more than anything.
But they didn't know how to market it that way. And that's what I'm saying. Like that, it was ahead of its time. Like now we've seen tons of like great action comedies, but this had elements of sci-fi in it. It had like paranormal stuff in it. Had all the great
Yes,
Asian
everything was in there. Just
culture and
threw
going back to
everything
those-
in it. Kitchen sink was in there, literally, probably, right? Like,
Well, he got all the big people too, like Carter Wong and all the top Asian cult cinema stars of the day. All the kung fu and karate shit that was going on that he loved. He got them all in the movie. And so yeah, you have a little bit of everything with that movie. It's fucking fantastic. But it flopped. It was a huge flop. And it didn't get an audience until much later when it came out on VHS, and then even more
VHS
so
or
now.
DVD. Yeah.
Like now it's got the biggest following it ever had. But back in the day, it was a big flop.
I am proud to say I paid money to see it in the theater, and I do not regret that whatsoever.
I think I probably didn't, but I have a memory of seeing it in the theater. But I know I saw it as soon as it was on VHS. I remember seeing it up in Indiana at my buddy Joey's house.
Now,
Bought this and
correct
was
me
like,
here.
"What the fuck
I
is
have a,
this
I,
magic?"
I have an opinion here, and correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like Kurt Russell is to John Carpenter what Kyle MacLachlan is to David Lynch. Does that track?
Yeah, that definitely
What
tracks.
about Uma
Very different
Thurman to
actors and very different
Tarantino?
movies. But say it again, Chris.
What about Uma Thurman to Tarantino?
Yeah. Although, God, do we only have 3 movies with Uma?
Some extent.
I must be forgetting
Okay.
some.
Well, I think all directors have their own favorite actors to work with.
Definitely Johnny Depp and Tim Burton.
There you go. That's another one.
That's
Yep.
probably a closer. Yeah, once you find your guy, and you, there's so much that goes into making a movie, and you can love somebody's talent, you can love somebody's looks, you can love their approach, but if you don't love them, it can be a miserable experience. And in some cases, a lot of times you'll hear these stories where, oh, working with that guy was a fucking nightmare, but brilliant performer and the movie was perfect. You hear those stories, but you also hear all the time, like, this movie turned out to be a pile of shit because nobody wanted to work with that guy. Who was I just reading about that everyone hated? Oh, Chevy Chase. It's like everybody hates Chevy Chase.
What?
And
Yeah, you're a total fucking asshole.
people that work with them, they
do.
all fucking hate him.
They do actually.
Between the movies and like Saturday Night Live, he was an asshole.
Yeah, he's probably more hated. He was actually banned. He got banned on set from Saturday Night Live. He's the only
apparently
original.
a huge asshole to everybody all the time.
Yeah.
But like, he's great on film. Like, he's fucking great on film. But apparently behind the scenes, he's just a raging fucking dick.
Yeah.
I guess he was a huge asshole to somebody on Community, one of the cast members there, that show he was on.
Well, Dan Harmon hated him. He ended up firing him. Or did Chevy? There was something weird where I think that Chevy got fired, but maybe they made it look like he left or something. There's a bunch of.
I think it's an ego thing. I mean, he's been in so many movies that were like super successful. Like, you think it was an ego thing, or just?
I think even Chevy has admitted that in his younger days it was a bit of an ego thing. Chevy Chase was like a big, tall,
Huge
kind of
star.
handsome dude, starred in all these successful movies, and he was on the original cast of SNL. He was only on the first season and a half, I think, of SNL before he got, he broke out into doing Fletch and vacation movies and
Lampoon, yeah.
And I love Chevy Chase. I love him in the movies. I didn't like him in Community. I thought it was a weird character, and it just seemed nothing made me laugh that he said or did. I thought that was an odd fit, but I love most of the Chevy Chase movies. But yeah, he and Bill Murray got into fisticuffs before the show on SNL 1 or 2 times. And, so many people that you'd think would be easygoing and easy to work with, and you hear the stories that they are easygoing, will tell you that Chevy was just a big fucking douche and no one wanted to work with him. And a lot of people said they would never work with him ever again. So, yeah, you never know.
Hey, I got a question for you guys it's completely off topic, but it was a little bit was brought back with our guest that wrote in when he was like, "Come around the phone, come on, family, let's gather around the phone and listen to this little story." It reminded me like of the 20s and stuff when people would like kind of gather around the radio.
Mm.
I had a fucking complete flashback on my very, very first guitar amp. And I'll tell you what it was. It was one of those old consoles that had a radio built into it. It was like, I would say 6 foot long, 4 foot tall, maybe 2 foot wide. And it had a lid. You'd open it up. And it was a console, had a radio. It had a spin, a record player inside.
Record player, yeah.
And it had
auxiliary input.
And it had a fucking 1/4-inch auxiliary input. And I remember playing my fucking very first guitar on it, and then saving enough money to get a distortion pedal, because you could never get it, dirty. You could only get it clean. So the only way to get a little dirty is get a distortion pedal. And I was just having a flashback about that just literally the other day. But my question was to you guys, what was your very first guitar amps? I think I remember Ron's.
Well, it's funny. My very first one that I actually took to gigs was the exact same thing you're talking about. It was my parents' They had one of those. It wasn't the whole console. It was just like the receiver. It was the one in the all-in-one. The turntable, the built-in radio, and the receiver. So I
Yeah.
took the clamshell top off. Yeah, you got something, Chris? You could tell when you went away.
I was laughing at the thought of you. I was laughing at the thought of you taking that to gigs.
Oh, just wait until you hear how I rigged it up. So it was the same thing though. I was like, I wonder what that looks like. It would take a fucking guitar jack. So I plugged it in. Now, unlike Lyle's setup, mine immediately went to feedback into distortion. But I found that if you turned it all the way up, it mellowed out and it just made the most amazing grungy fuzz you've ever fucking heard. And it wasn't super loud. It wasn't loud enough to be a gig amp, but you put a mic in front of it like you do a lot of practice amps and smaller amps for bigger spaces. So what I did was I nailed the two Sears cabinet, the speaker cabinets, that's the kind that has like the fancy brown wood grain around it, and then it's hard to explain, but it's got the grill cloth with the glitter in it, but it also had these sort of carving out of foam around it. They're meant to be decorative in your living room. So I nailed those two together so they're side by side, and then bolted the unit itself on top of that, which is about the same height, and then I screwed in a big leather strap on top of it, so I carried the whole thing in, and it was just this compact stereo box, and people were like, what the fuck is that? And I would plug it in, and almost everybody thought it just had a great sound, and they loved how kooky it was, of course. But so I played many a gig of that. Of course, I was immediately blowing the speakers, so it didn't last that long. But my first proper amp, and the one you're probably thinking of, Lyle, was that little Harmony one that I got from my uncle that was like, it was padded. It was like, it looked like a padded cell. It was like blue leather, or I'm sure it was pleather, that was tufted and padded. It was a really fucking cool amp. Again, black glittery speaker cloth, and then on top was just a little separate, the simplest amp you could ever see. There's no effects, no distortion. It was like volume, bass, and treble.
I don't remember how many speakers it had, but it looked like
one.
It basically looked like a half stack, but it was super small.
Yeah, when it was skinny.
Yeah,
it was like tall and skinny. It was like 4 feet tall, maybe more like 3 feet tall, but it was like a foot wide. So it had this interesting shape. I never saw anything like it. I have seen them on the internet, and they don't go for very much, but it was just, I think, like an 8-inch, maybe a 10-inch, but probably an 8-inch speaker, just taking up that huge cabinet. The rest was just empty, which carried the sound. But yeah, super cool looking thing. I don't even remember what happened to it. I think my uncle took it back and pawned it. But Chris, what about you? What was your first guitar amp?
Oh, it was a little practice amp, a little Squier Fender bass, and a little practice amp for sure.
Kind of like what I used in the last Bloody Oranges days.
My first amp was something my uncle procured for me, and it was Sears, and it had like I want to say it was a 10-inch speaker in the cabinet, which was, I think, about, I don't know, waist high on me, so maybe about 3 feet or so, something like that. And then it had a head that attached to it, so it was like an actual cabinet with a head, detachable head, and it was this weird green color. It was like kind of like this weird green sort of vinyl that was like wrapped around it, right? And like you were saying, like the sort of sparkly gold weird speaker.
Yeah.
Speaker. It sounds like mine.
Shit. Yeah. And it had, what I remember about it was that it had an amazing fucking reverb spring coil in it. So like you could crank that
analog
puppy
reverb,
and you could just like smack it and it would go.
Yeah.
So fucking good. But it was not grounded, and you would shock the shit out of yourself constantly if you weren't careful.
Yeah.
But it sounded fucking great. And when one of my first, like, I want to say, quote, real band, when we were practicing up in my, my essentially attic room, we would run everything like through that, and like we would just put like one microphone down in front of it and record ourselves playing so we could listen back, you know? And it sounded fucking awesome. It just had this like great sort of like, it was like the production you wanted, you know what I mean? That you can't really describe to people in a studio, like make it sound like this.
I miss experimenting with just like whatever you had around back in the day.
Totally. And I think I took that amp and I started playing music with some cats when I was going to the Art Institute in Seattle in like 1991. And I took it to this rehearsal space down, I don't even fucking know where it was at this point, and left it there. And I never got it back for some reason. I just never went back to get it. And it's gone. I really fucking wish I had it because it was like, it'd be so cool to play around with it now, you know?
One of these days, I am going to buy one of those harmonies that pop up just to have back in my house, you know, just for old time's sake, because it's such a. I'll try to find a picture of it and send it to you. And I think I've got a picture of me playing the old Sears stereo, one of the shows that we played down at the barn, which is an old.
The Red Barn.
Yeah, that was one of the very few all ages venues in Wenatchee.
Yep,
that's where I played one of my first shows too.
That's some pretty decent bands played there. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
we played with Wedge and Motherload.
Yeah,
Wedge from Tri-Cities and Motherload from Spokane.
Yeah, I remember when there was a bunch of Spokane bands that I thought were about to break, and it just never did. One of them was Clabberhag, which is a female band, and everyone compared them to all the female bands in Seattle, which is just what people do. But I thought that they were better than, like 7 Year Bitch and L7 by far. And they had a really catchy song called Nerdcore Boy. Maybe I'll play a little bit of that if I can find it. But there is a compilation that came out that was sort of like Spokane's version of Seattle's The Deep Six compilation. They had Soundgarden and Mudhoney or Green River probably back in the early days. It was like one of the very first compilations to sell the rest of the world on what was going on in Seattle. Spokane had one called East of Eden, and it had some really good stuff on there. Fatty Lumpkin, was another band. I'm spacing on some of the other ones, but I was obsessed with that compilation.
Soulhammer, maybe?
That one doesn't sound familiar.
You ever hear them?
But they could be. Anyway, moving on. Old times,
Real quick, I remember what John Mock was talking about those spring reverbs. My dad used to have two older, he had those 266 GTOs. And I remember when, I was a kid, he had the trunk opened up. And I was like, what's in that box? What is it? And he said that's what it was. Mm-hmm. It was an old spring reverb that they used to put in those old 60s cars.
I laughed so hard the first time I saw one. I was like, what?
Yeah, and it was just like, boing. You get a little echo in your radio as you drive down the highway.
That always makes me think of, remember Niemeyer's old Univox? I don't know where we got that amp, but that had a very specific spring reverb sound to it. That was a cool amp.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that guy today. I found his memorial today.
Yeah, God, how long's it been now?
Been a little while.
He died. I was over at a funeral.
I always wanted one of the. No, never mind. Sorry.
I was over at a funeral a few weeks back, and I went to go find Jason's grave, and I couldn't find it. It's been so long. I'm not a real big visit a grave kind of guy, but it's there, and I always remember what area it's in. But there are so many more graves now that I got dizzy after walking around for like a half hour. And I was like, I'll come back and find it later. But kind of weirded me out that I couldn't find it.
He's just like, fucking, I love you, Jason, wherever you are.
Yeah, I think I said exactly that. It's like, I'll be back. I'll
Last
find you,
time
fucker.
I visited him, I think I wrote a song in the Tuna Sea. It was an acoustic song. It was like kind of like a Soundgarden-ish song. And I remember I put my guitar on the back of my motorcycle and I went across town and sat down and, smoked some cigarettes and
played. Jeff's or Jason's? Yeah.
Jason. I still got a huge fucking scar on my finger from that guy.
I was just talking about Jason on the Holly and Ron episode that came out today. Isn't it weird that because I was talking about how we went, when we went to see the body and the viewing, how I think that's all gone now. It's like a coffee shop, right? Or is it where AutoZone is? It's like one of those places now. It's like that very room that we stood in having that crazy shared bizarre moment is now just where you belly up to a place and order coffee. I thought that's so weird how places can change so dramatically from your experience in that one place to what it is now. Very strange. Life just goes on.
Yeah, keeps on trucking.
Life is for the living.
Life is for the living. Get busy living or get busy dying. Goddamn right. Well, my first story this week, and I don't really know how we missed this. I feel like we may have been slipping in the last few years. And maybe we did talk about it and just the aforementioned dent in my brain has blocked it out. But this goes back to 2017 when UFC fighter Justine Kish was entangled in a brawl with opponent Felice Herrig. A brawl that was so physically demanding that she shit her pants right there on the mat mid-match. Did we ever talk about this?
Pulled a Fergie.
I mean, you know what that's like, Ron. You've been there.
Well, sure.
Directly.
A match so physically demanding that I did watch the video. It's pretty gross and embarrassing.
No,
but
So, like, there's a mess.
Yeah, there's a mess, and apparently it's happened a few times in the UFC ring.
Sure.
Something that as you are passing out or about to pass out, you pass all out.
I don't think it's necessarily all that. I think as an athlete, because I've gone through it where like if you don't work out for a long time and then you go back to the gym and you work out.
Your pants?
Well, no. Your body kind of starts rejecting a lot of stuff, and that it'll give you like the runs, not knowing it. You know what I mean? So like if you're physically battling something, especially taking stomach shots and stuff, I could totally see where that could happen.
Sure. Well, there's a lot that goes into that too. I mean, it's like the stress of the match, you know
what I'm talking about, right?
Physical demand.
Well, even like P90X, it's just a workout program. When you start it, usually you come out pretty good for the first few weeks, but most people get sick, and it's just a stomach thing. You just get diarrhea, and it's your body flushing out a lot of your internal water that you've held on to, that you're not sweating out.
You start passing out, everything just gets a little bit more relaxed. No, but my favorite part of the story was that Kish kind of had the last laugh, at least with some good spirit, in a tweet that she later posted saying, quote, "I'm a warrior and I will never quit. Hashtag shit happens." And then she says, haha, be back soon.
Could you imagine
that's how you like, son.
Could you imagine if she like did the Hitler to their opponent? She just like grabs a bit and then puts it on her opponent's top lip. Give her the Hitler.
Oh God!
Yeah, I can't imagine that, Lyle.
Are you talking about
like
a Nazi version of the Dirty Sanchez?
The Dirty Sanchez, yes.
I have never heard of the Dirty Hitler.
It must have been a South Park episode.
Yeah, of course it was.
Wait till you hear about the clean Hitler.
Yeah, that one might even be more offensive. Well, moving on, more recently, a zoo in Hangzhou, I believe is how you pronounce it, China, has lost a rare leopard. And this just happened last week. It's out there somewhere prowling the streets. And as you can imagine...
Oh my God, it's in the public?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's just out there. It's out in the town. There were 3 of them that escaped, but they got the first 2, or they got 2 of them back. So it's a dangerous situation, as you can imagine. Then they're not taking it lightly. Officials have deployed, listen to this, 1,700 personnel, including dog handlers. They've released 990 drones, as well as a pilot and a powered parachute. Like one of those light aircraft that just consist of a parafoil and motor and wheels, just cruising the fucking skies, looking for this very potentially dangerous leopard. But they put up like motion sensors all over the place. They set up cameras. They're watching everything. it's like a massive stakeout. But the favorite part of the story for me was that they're also employing 100 chickens as part of the search. And I was like, what the fuck is a chicken gonna do to find a cat? You guys wanna take a guess on what the chickens are for?
Food.
Is it bait?
It's 100% bait to coax the hungry cat out of hiding. They're just releasing all these poor chickens just out there pecking and scratching. Like, look at all look at all the pecking and scratching we can do. We're free, boys. We're free. I guess girls.
Where was this at?
This is in eastern China.
Eastern China. So I'm trying to envision in my head what the new Leopard King is going to look like.
Everything the chicken touches is our kingdom. So they got these poor birds roaming around, just hoping that one of them will tempt the hungry cat out of hiding. I don't think we would get away with that here.
No.
Chicken bait for escaped leopards. But we shall see. Keep you posted on that story.
Woke.
We are too woke. It's kind of a crazy story. That's a shit ton of search efforts going on. Like we don't use that many resources here for a missing child. We certainly don't send a fleet of chickens into the night.
Well, that many drones, Jesus. That's
1,000 drones.
This is crazy.
What the fuck?
You know, if you were to hunt with the drone, which is completely illegal, but like you could, you know, I mean, the one I have, I mean, like there's like 3 miles.
Is it illegal? I wonder if it's illegal to use a drone at all with hunting, like even like to spot.
Totally legal.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you can't do it.
Is it? I guess that makes sense, right? Something like a cheat code.
It's like hunting with dogs. I guess they think it's a bit of an unfair.
If you're elk camp and then you send up your drone and you know it goes 3 miles, so you like you just search around.
That's weird to me though, right?
I have 2 minds about that too.
So here's why I think that's weird, right? So you pay for a tag, right? So you got a deer tag or an elk tag or whatever. So you like, okay, you are now legally entitled to hunt 1 deer. Okay. So then if you go out into the woods and you're looking for a deer, you see a deer, you shoot a deer, you got your deer.
Sure.
Oh, you're out in the woods and you're looking for a deer, you can't find a deer, you send a drone up, you send it off into the woods, like over here, like, oh, it's over that way. So
well, you totally
that way.
Well, on paper, it's not all that different from using high-powered scopes.
Either way,
it is.
Either way, you get one deer, right? So what the fuck is the difference?
I mean, here's the deal, though. Here's the deal. Do you think that they bank on that? Because what percentage of hunters do you think go out and don't get the buck or whatever? Like I've known hunters that go out and get nothing. So do you think they bank on that 15, 20%, 25%? I don't know what number it is.
Maybe.
Not getting, like in that the population steady?
Perhaps, but that's an unknown, right?
Yeah, but
so
most
I think
of these
that
populations aren't a problem.
So I'm completely talking out of my ass here because I don't hunt, so I don't know. But like, it's a good question. So, but what I'm imagining is that they release like, okay, so they probably have an idea of what the population number is. Like, okay, so we need to have like say 1,500 deer of this population this year culled. So they release. So it's like they have 1,500 tags that they release to the public, right? Whether they get them or not is a different story. But you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like
it's a good point because they do
release
things
the number
like
of tags that they assume are going to be killed.
They do things like that to some degree to control what you can do. Just like, you know, you can get a bow license and hunt earlier and in more locations sometimes, but they only issue so many of those. And there's some types of tags like elk tags that you got to be drawn for in certain places. It depends on where you're at. Like you got to win the lottery before you can even hunt. Why not make a lottery for say you can hunt with a drone? I don't know. Well, it's an interesting thought. It would be fun to hunt with a drone. I'm not a big hunter. You know, I've imagined myself getting into hunting the older I get, but I don't think it's likely at this stage, just because, you know, it's a more ethical way to eat the meat.
Clean meat.
But clean meat. But, you know, high-powered scope versus drone, on paper, it's not that far away, but who knows?
Well, a high-powered scope's only going to do you so much good if you're in the fucking woods, right? I mean,
or down in the gully or whatnot. But here's the deal: you have federal land which you cannot do that. You can't spot with a drone. But on private land, I bet you probably could. And there's people that like own acres and acres of, or miles and miles of like private land for hunting,
Sure.
for private hunting. So
Yeah,
like,
my brother
Well,
did.
they have like
maybe it's
they
possible.
have like those
Maybe
whole
people
fenced in areas with deer
Yeah.
populations in that you can go hunt in. It's like,
Well, you
it's
know
like
what
you're saying. Like that's what we're talking about. It's like, what's the
there?
difference of morality, right? Where it's like, oh, the deer are in this area. They're going to be in there. They can't get out. So it's like
It's
fenced in
kind of
hunting.
lazy man's way to do it, but
Yeah.
because you're taking the thrill of the hunt out of it. But like, because all I have to do is just throw it up in the air and go, oh, well, yep, there's a big herd, southeast from here, maybe about 2 miles. Might as well start heading that way,
There's no
Versus
question. It's a
Yep.
big advantage. But so is having a fish finder on your boat. Take the fish finder away on your boat, and fishing is a whole different ball game. But we do that. I don't know. Drones are so new. I mean, they're not, but they are, concerning like every aspect of life, and they just get better and cheaper, and that's going to continue. So I think we're going to continue to see drone life modified as we go further and further.
Part of the thing. There's by the FCC, there's a certain weight, right, that you could fly your drone, and legally you have to have a license to do it. To use any kind of photography, say like you got your drone and you want to make money on shooting houses or something like that, as helping realtors and whatnot, you have to have a license, to fly it, to actually make money on anything you fly as a drone. Lately, the last year, they made these drones, because there's a certain weight limit. There's a certain weight limit that you could fly a drone, that it's more considered as a toy. And they have these commercialized, I wouldn't say really commercialized. They're very technologically squeezed into a little baby package that is literally just
lighter.
At that mark. So you don't need anymore. You don't need that license to fly it. But yeah, you still could get that really good quality. I mean, they're 1-inch sensor cameras that are made by Hasselblad.
Is it the FCC that controls?
Yeah. You have to go. The closest place that I'm aware of here in Washington is Moses Lake, from where I'm at, from Washington, Wenatchee, that you could take the test, and it's quite a bit.
Well, here's the thing. We all know that people are using drones to hunt, but people are also shooting elk when they already bagged their elk for the year. I think that's poaching is a smaller group, but I wouldn't be surprised if more people than we care to think are flying a drone over.
Well, here's
another thing is those outdoor cameras that you can do. You can put cameras there and track the wildlife and see when they come and see what herds are around and who's visiting your watering hole. Go ahead, John. Lau.
Those smaller drones that they fall underneath the skies of being a drone. They're kind of more looked at as toys.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody like using one of those might actually get away with it for hunting.
Yeah.
So who knows? I don't know. I don't know.
It's funny. It's a thought I'd never occurred to me.
Yeah.
Here's something, kids. Alcohol. Listen to this headline. That I'm just going to read this story right off of Live Science, snippets of it anyway. The headline is "Alcohol made from radioactive Chernobyl apples seized by Ukraine government." Here's the story. In 2019, a group of scientists and distillers, that's quite a pairing. I guess distillers are kind of scientists, very skilled in a specialized way. They decided to create a bold new type of booze. It's called Atomic with a K, which I kind of love. An artisanal alcoholic spirit made from ingredients grown in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant's still radioactive exclusion zone.
Oh, God.
The booze itself was not radioactive after the distilling process. Now, the first batch of Atomic has been recently completed, and all 1,500 bottles of it have been seized by the Ukrainian Secret Services agents for unknown reasons. Now, this is a representative from Atomic's manufacturer company. It seems that they are accusing us of using forged Ukrainian excise stamps. So it's not to do with the product or the safety or anything like that. I'm just wondering how this is the first time I'm hearing that there is a brand of Chernobyl fruit spirits called Atomic. I kind of love and am terrified of this. What you guys think? Would you sip?
What's a fruit spirit? What is it?
Well, you can make vodka out of just about anything. So they're making.
Oh, okay, so it's like okay, I see. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
Any hard liquor, any liquor made distilled from wine technically could be a fruit spirit, but maybe it's not like hard enough to be considered a spirit. But
yeah, it's one of those things that they're infusing with, probably.
Certainly not a Truly.
No, you can distill I
would trust a fucking Chernobyl vodka over a Truly.
I don't remember the
Go ahead,
name of the distillery, but there was a distillery that was making vodka from, I think it was Honeycrisp apples from Washington State, and I got it at Whole Foods a couple of times. I think I actually sent you guys a picture of the bottle once. And goddamn, if that wasn't fucking delicious vodka. Just stick it in the freezer and you just sip it or shoot it. Oh my god, it was so good. But I haven't seen it. I was able to get a couple bottles over a course of a couple of months or whatever. But the last time I checked, I wasn't able to see it anywhere. And I don't remember what it was called, but it was made from apples. It was distilled from apples instead of the potatoes or grains or whatever that they normally use, and it was really good.
Yeah,
but you could definitely taste that little bit of appley crispness
they're unique.
to
They're
it.
definitely all unique. Here's a paragraph that also talks about that they are using grains. It said several years ago, the Atomic team tested rye crops from the exclusion zone for radiation and found that the grains were indeed contaminated. However, all traces of radiation were removed during the distillation process. So they claim that they're no more dangerous. And again, it doesn't seem like this was seized because of a safety thing. It was financial. It was more like government red tape thing.
Well, and they're not brewing it like in Chernobyl. It's probably taken outside of the air. And
I don't know how you deradiate. But it also, here's a quote here that I think is interesting. If this all sounds like it's kind of tasteless and a terrible idea, this might change your mind. It said, if Atomic, this is all experimental, if the brand Atomic makes it to liquor shops, they have promised 75% of the company's profits will be used to help bring jobs and investments back into the Chernobyl affected areas of Ukraine. Because even the places that are outliers are just, the economy is non-existent because no one wants to go anywhere near Chernobyl. So
I don't know why.
That's kind of a neat little tidbit there. Anyway, I just thought it was kind of fascinating that you could have Chernobyl vodka. I'd probably try.
There's a safe window, and I can't remember what it is. You could literally go with the shirt on your back and a pair of jeans and walk down Chernobyl. But there's a window, and I can't remember what it is, where it will actually potentially start getting you sick. But it won't get you sick automatically.
Well, you want a timer for that shit.
Yeah, but how cool would that be?
Oh no, I set my clock to metric.
Splunking through there, it's still a huge city.
Oh
Jesus.
my god, it's so haunting to see some of those images. Speaking of window, totally different lane change. Have you guys watched The Wormwood? It's sort of a docu-series on Netflix, about the MK Ultra, specifically about Frank Osborne. Remember the guy that allegedly jumped to his death out of the window after the LSD experiments?
I think I was talking to you about that. I don't know.
I know we talked about it on the show. I couldn't remember if you guys had
I did
watched
watch it.
I highly recommend it. If you could all get caught up on that in the next month or so, it's only 4 episodes, so it doesn't take you too long to crank through them. It is... I know we did the episode on MK Ultra, and I remember how we were all just sickened and disgusted with our fucking government after that, and that episode hit me like a sledgehammer to the balls. But watching this, it's mostly his son. It's mostly Frank's son and his research and looking into what happened to his dad, and just all these little things that it was And then it just kind of quietly came out that, oh yeah, no, we were dosing him with LSD. And they actually apologized. Like the president apologized to them. It's such a rare and weird story, but it's a very hypnotic and captivating and depressing show. But I would love you guys to watch it if you haven't, and we'll get caught up on that and talk about that down the road. Wormwood, and it's really interesting. It's well directed. It's an Errol Morris production, and it's really well done. Just haunting and fucking gross and bizarre, and a lot of things that I didn't know about, even though I researched elements of that story when I was doing the MK Ultra episode.
That is weird how you could have two lanes of traffic on that whole LSD thing. You know what I mean? It's like you could take it normally with friends and have a great time and have good trips and stuff, but then have like people completely like turn your trip around into fucking hell.
Well, they didn't know about it is the big thing. I mean, whatever you are going into with an LSD trip, at least you know you are going into it. These guys didn't even know. They just thought they were losing their fucking minds, and they were, because they were being dosed a lot.
But you fuck with people that were like frying, like.
No, I was never into fucking with people when they were on drugs, because I didn't like being fucked with when I was on drugs. But I've seen it happen.
Well, it was typically like you'd come over and like your buddies would be all tripping, and they didn't say anything. Oh, we got a batch, but we didn't tell you about it. And I remember one time fucking with one of my buddies, and I was like, "Oh man, that's too bad. What about those spiders that are crawling up your arm?"
Fucking dick. You're one of those dicks.
Hey, look at the sea life, Christopher. Here's an article about the octopus.
That's fucking cruel.
Exactly.
Who knows what kind of nightmare that could send somebody down?
Chris is back.
I'm back, guys. Hi.
Oh, you are back. Good. That's good timing, because I'm about ready to go into my spiel after you guys.
I got a couple.
Talk about whatever you want to bring.
Ooh,
Chris, you just sent us something. What is this a story?
I'd love to talk about this. Yeah, I was going to talk about it last week, but we had such an epic length rant. I didn't want to pile it on here. But so Zack Snyder's about to release a movie to Netflix tomorrow. Actually, it's going to be Friday. So 2 days from now. This podcast will be out by the time it's out, so I don't know why I'm fucking giving it a date.
Is it actually coming to Netflix, or is it just a Netflix film going into theaters? Because I thought it was just in theaters.
Oh, I could be wrong. I thought I did not know that it was in theaters only. I'd have to. Upcoming Netflix action film is all I see, so I haven't seen.
I think it's distributed by Netflix and produced by Netflix, but I think it's only in theaters for now.
You don't think they're going to launch it simultaneously?
I'll look it up while you're talking. What's the name of the movie?
Not from what I've read. Not because I want to see it, and I was like,
we'll verify. We'll verify. But here's the story. Here's the story on this, and I thought this was so fucking fascinating. I don't know if y'all have seen the trailer for this yet, but it's really nice looking for a zombie movie. Now, Zack Snyder did Dawn of the Dead, the one at the mall. Was that Dawn of the Dead?
Dawn of the Dead was the mall one.
Yeah, the remake. It was fucking great.
That was great.
It was great, right?
Rare, great remake.
Zack Snyder did that, which I for some reason didn't realize. But so he's been working on this new one. I don't know if it's a direct sequel or just in the same world or what, but it's all about zombies in Vegas. Like they have to go. Vegas has been walled up and contains a zombie outbreak, and it's like a heist movie. They're trying to break in and steal a bunch of money before they nuke because of Vegas.
Zombies in Vegas.
Wildly fun.
Good idea.
And like you see like the fucking dancing girl zombies and stuff, and it looks fantastic. So
what's it called?
Super excited about this. It's called Army of the Dead.
Okay.
And so they filmed this before the pandemic, or most of it, I guess. Like this was, in the can when things got shut down.
Yeah.
So in the span of 2020, one of the actors, he's a comedian, and I'm probably going to say his name wrong. Chris D'Elia, D'Elia? Is that? You guys know who this is?
He's funny as
D'Elia.
He's got
D'Elia. Thank you. Funny as fuck. Turns out also giant fucking creep.
Well, he's got some Netflix specials. So
yeah, I've seen one of his Netflix specials. I don't remember how much I liked it, but I am aware of the stories
he started
about
to blow
him.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was I guess he was trying to get pictures from underage girls, nude pictures and stuff. I remember when the story broke about this, there was a fucking famous, it was like Joe Rogan or one of those shows he was on, and they were talking about Snapchat, and it was from like 2 years ago, and they were like, yeah, but you can save the chats in Snapchat. And he goes, what? You could see like the fucking panic on his face, like
Oh, really? That's funny.
Yeah, you can see the.
Yeah, and this one's proven, right? Because a lot of these allegations are allegations, and you got to be tricky. You got to be careful there. But this stuff has kind of been proven.
He denies it, but there's been
I
a few
think
thought
I
there
think
was
it's
evidence
I think it's pretty much been proven. Of course, you're going to deny it, but I think it's been proven.
So the story is here
Take
that
that with
he
a
was
grain of salt.
filmed. He was filmed in this movie before all this happened, and in the climate we're living in, it's not uncommon for people to get canceled during this. And I'm not saying he should or shouldn't have. That's not for me to say. Sounds like he's a creep. But so Zack Snyder replaced him entirely, but the film had already been finished. So what he did was he hired a comedian named Tig Notaro. This is somebody, again, I'm not very familiar with, but she looks fucking awesome.
She's
And so
fucking
she-
great, dude. She's
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
So they're saying one of the most interesting visual effects in this whole movie is that they replaced him with her, and they did it. She did it almost entirely like green screen by herself. Like she did weapons training over Zoom calls and shit to
Interesting
prep.
acting exercise.
And so, yeah, and so you see, they had to like get really technical about, because he's much taller than she is, and so certain shots would show him, as tall as the other people, and they had to like box her up and stuff or put her on,
Sure.
the side of a plane. So I highly recommend checking out the trailer for this. It looks great. She looks fantastic in it, and I love the fact that they kind of replaced someone that sounds like a piece of shit.
And
They were able to do
I
that.
think the sense of justice, for some reason, or whatever you want to call it, it's not lost that it was a woman, right?
Yeah,
That's
for
like
sure.
a little extra. I heard about the story in a funny way. It was like all of a sudden I saw people saying, "Can we just replace?" I think someone said, I don't know, it's not a tit for tat, but someone said, "Can we just go back and replace every Tom Cruise movie? Can we replace Tom Cruise with Tig?"
Yeah,
That was the
I'd
meme
watch
I
it.
saw. Yeah, an interesting exercise. By the way, the Army of the Dead will play exclusively in cinemas starting on May 14th.
Oh.
So it's already out. So 1 week, and it'll play for 1 week in the theaters, and then it'll be on Netflix by the time this comes out, which is the 21st.
So
So
it'd be
kind of an
Friday.
odd
Yeah, so yeah.
sitch.
Yeah.
So a
Oh,
Comes out
theaters,
on Friday,
Nice,
John
'cause
Mark.
I want to watch it.
so a theater's back.
I know what I'm doing.
I don't think our theater is
baby.
open here. Are your guys'
Oh, all our
theaters
theaters
open?
are open. Yeah.
You know, I
maybe I'm
kinda
wrong.
drove by it, but I wasn't sure if it was open or not, just because of the time of the day.
Yeah,
But
ours
it
must be.
might be possible. I mean, all you just have to do is limit the sales on tickets, and
I have
Yeah.
not checked,
Socially
but now I'm
distanced. My
fully
kind of way to see
vaxxed,
the movie.
so maybe that's something I should be looking into in the next week or two.
Probably the best time to see a movie. They're never going to be cleaner.
Yeah.
Theaters are like notoriously disgusting.
feet sticking on the
So
ground.
they got to be cleaning that shit up now, keeping up with them CDC standards and social distancing, so you won't have somebody. Every time I go to the fucking theater, I know I told you guys all the horror stories of going to the theaters. It's just no matter what, it could be completely empty, and then somebody will come in, and I'll be like, that motherfucker's gonna sit right by me and cough
Uh-huh.
through the whole fucking thing, or look at his phone, or that couple's gonna sit right by me. They're gonna make out and talk to the whole fucking movie every fucking
Right.
time.
And you're
People
gonna
stopped going
watch.
to the movies with me, and I'm gonna watch. It's one of the reasons I stopped going to the theater way before COVID. Not that I wouldn't ever, it's just I lost interest in it. But might be the best time to go to a theater if you, like you legally are required to
Honestly,
get your fucking
most of
cough
the
away
movies
from me.
that I want to go see, like nobody else is ever there anyways.
I was gonna say, if you get a good matinee, you're gonna be probably okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always loved the matinee. You know where, ironically, or coincidentally, I guess is the word, the best place to watch a movie is Las Vegas.
Where? Why?
And if you guys are ever in Vegas and there's a movie out, not like a big blockbuster thing, but something that you've wanted to see, and like, because it's Vegas and nobody goes to watch movies in Vegas, and all of the theaters are like, well, not all of them, but there are plenty of them, big chains, huge. They're ready to rock for those big premiere nights, but every like a regular Tuesday, if you're going in there like 4:00 matinee, there may be 3 or 4 other people in there, but they're going to be like 40 yards away from you. Leah taught me that trick. We went to see a few, every time we were ever in Vegas, we would see a movie just because it was the best way to see a movie. Nobody
forgot
goes to
you guys
Vegas to watch a movie, so keep that in mind. Little pro tip next time you're down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Zack Snyder's, I need to watch that again. I haven't seen Dawn of the Dead in a long time, but I remember kind of getting goosebumps at that intro. The intro always sticks with me. It's got that sort of like cold start a little bit,
yeah.
and then it kicks into the opening titles,
yeah,
and
the
it's
Johnny
Johnny
Cash.
Cash when the man
Yeah.
comes around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
so
fucking
fucking
great.
good.
And then the guy who plays the dad on that fucking Modern Family show. He's in it. He's like a total creep. It's fucking great.
God, I don't even remember that.
Phil Dunphy, the guy who plays Phil Dunphy in Modern Family. He's the guy who's like sort of like the creepy sort of like kind of asshole dude. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch for. And that's happened a couple times in one way or another, right? Like, I don't know if anyone's been like digitally replaced, but I know they had to go back and refilm. Ridley Scott had to go back and refilm a bunch of shit, getting rid of, I think it was must have been Kevin Spacey.
Oh yeah. What was that for though? What was it?
Right when he was ousted.
What was the
I
show?
don't remember what the movie was. I didn't see it. I don't remember what it was, but I remember when that happened.
Well, yeah, we're just going to have to decreep a movie. You know where it will really get weird if we take this to the next level will be going back to classics. Because, I mean, American Beauty. Could they go back and replace Kevin Spacey with, I don't know, some younger actor at the, it's like, how much of this do we want to see? I wouldn't want to see any of that.
So what I feel that how far this is going to go is going to depend on how financially lucrative is going to be to the people involved, right? Because cynical point of view here, if they felt like it was going to be like, so American Beauty, like, it's a classic film, people like won some awards and blah blah blah, it's like, whatever, but is it going to benefit anybody financially to go back and replace Kevin Spacey with anybody? Because if it is, they'll do it. If it's not, they won't. And that's not. You know what? That's my take on all of this. It's like, how much fucking filthy lucre can you get off it? And
which says a lot about what our true morals and values are based on,
right? Exactly. So fuck everybody is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I feel
fuck everyone. 2021.
Kind of one of those things that should be left alone, left in its time. Leave it as a capsule. Learn from it. It's like E.T. Why take the fucking guns out of E.T. and keep walking?
But we do this. We do this with certain things. Why make Greedo shoot first? I mean, was that not sort of it's some sort of version of all of this? Violence, you can't, well, I don't know. In the day and age of shootings, maybe you would want to go back. Some people would want to go back and change the gun stuff. But yeah, it seems silly to me, but it doesn't seem silly to some people. And I try to see their
could you imagine in it? Can you imagine if it was like, so hell bent on violence, and this is just coming from like an ultra reality, and like you're watching Star Wars and somebody said, nope, can't have fucking lightsabers. That's too violent. You know what I mean? And then gave him like fucking whips or something.
Well, no one has gone back and fucked with Star Wars more than the creator of Star Wars.
Fuck, I have thoughts on. I've been watching all the Star Wars movies. I think I've mentioned
when are you and John
times.
Mark going to do your Star Wars-a-thon?
We got to do it. Well, it's just going to be. I think we're going to get together. But I have I have an interesting thought about these changes that they've made, and it springs from. Sorry, this is a diatribe, but this kind of this episode. I've been playing also the Halo remake, the Master Chief Collection. Now, Ronster, I know most of your Halo experience comes from you swinging a sword at a box, thinking it's a box of tacos.
Sure. That's because I'm a master. Not every. I don't want to intimidate everybody, but I'm just next level. If that doesn't sound right to you, then you guys are just not. You haven't made it to those later levels.
I'm gonna try to
the taco levels.
I know there's going to be so few people that agree with me on this, and that's okay. But I'm going to lay this out as quickly and as plainly as I possibly can. And yes, I am stoned now. When you play that game, what they've done, they updated all the graphics on this classic game that I spent so many hours playing, and so it's beautiful to watch. But at any point, you can hit the back button, and it instantly changes back to the old graphics. So you're like, holy shit. And something interesting happens there. Your brain forgets how bad a game looked from 15 years ago, and it like makes the graphics like I read some study on this. Your brain fills in the gaps basically and modernizes some of the old games for you. And then you go back and see them and you're like, holy fuck, I don't remember looking at this bad.
It's now like Star Wars: The Old Republic. Those games. Awesome
Yeah,
games.
exactly.
What
Great
era are we
stories.
talking? Would that be? Are we talking like PlayStation 1 era?
It would have
maybe
been like
2?
PlayStation 2 era.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's with the original Xbox. So we're on the 5th Xbox, I think, generation or the 4th. But anyway, so it's really fucking fun. I spend most of that game playing it and then hitting the back button and saying, "Oh my God, look how different this is." And it's instant. So it's like there's no lag. You just hit a button and then you hit it to go back. And it's fucking amazing. Now, let's go to Star Wars. I know that he's fucked with Star Wars, and I know that some of it's really bad. But there are times in the original Star Wars where those changes make fucking sense to me. Like the scenes with the TIE fighters coming into battle or opening their wings. Because it doesn't look bad now. Then you go to that scene where he added like that weird cantina dance, and there's this 3D animated character that looks like something off of Ally McFucking Beale from 1997.
Yeah.
It's bad, and it doesn't make sense. But when I get Logan to really watch Star Wars and he watches these new ones and how flashy they are and how great they look, and then he comes back and watches the original Star Wars and sees how weird the clipping looks on like the X-wings as they fly around space sometimes. It's amazing what they did. Amazing. But if you
I never
compare
had a
it,
problem with
it
them
looks-
cleaning up some of the special effects.
Yes.
For the
Now,
most part.
That's where I'm getting. Like, what if they give free license to Disney to every 10 years just clean up some of those special effects and like a 10-year, because these are films that are going to be celebrated for the rest of our lives, maybe our children's
a change
lives.
with the times.
Like
sort of thing.
just a breath of fresh air. Now, we're also moving towards a streaming only platform, right? Like we're getting to that point where we're just going to go Disney Plus, Netflix, fucking, and I'm already there. I'm not pulling out my Star Wars DVDs. I'm going up to fucking Disney Plus to stream it in high quality, so I don't have to do that. When you enter Star Wars now, the first thing it does is says, it says, what version do you want? Do you want recommended, or do you really want to pick like our fucking 1970 original version?
It says
the one. No, like what if it did?
Oh, that's your vision
and then
of
it gave you every option, and then at a flick of a button, you can go back and forth and see the difference.
I'd be
like
balls
real
deep
time.
into that.
Right?
I've always said that I'm not.
I want to see the original theatrical release
Yes.
of Star Wars.
And
You
they
can see
should
that.
give you that.
I mean, we talked
They
about that
should
years
give
ago.
you that option.
Chris, have you seen that one?
I don't know.
The very first.
It
one?
is. It's as shocking, if not more, than what you were just talking about with going
That's
back
what
and
I
looking
hear.
at here.
Yeah.
Well, I have a copy of it.
But it's
I
also
still-
awesome. It's like
I have it on my hard drive.
it's
If-
amazing.
If you really want to watch it, I could post it.
Load
On
it
my-
up,
I think
baby.
it's still
I'll
up on
watch
archive.org.
But don't you think that would be fucking cool to be able to do? And like at a hit of
Yeah.
a button, it'll go back 15 seconds and show you the
Yeah.
same scene, but the most current version of it.
Mhm.
That would be kind of cool. I
Well,
could dig it.
Well, you know,
Totally.
I've always said that if you want to go back and erase the guns out of ET, fine, make that a version. Make that a version that
Don't
you can say
hide-
this is
yeah.
the gun-free version. But don't bury and don't, leave up the original version on these streaming platforms, because as you said, if you don't have the VHS, more and more it's the VHS, like even the DVDs that most of us would have we're already fucked with. But if you don't have that original shit in the original players that are becoming more and more scarce or damaged because they're physical goods, you want to access those original things. It's just like with Star Trek, some of the things where you're cleaning up like a bad matte painting, or you're cleaning up where the special effects bled into the background, the old green, the key, it wasn't even green screen back then. It was just keying, chroma keying.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Cleaning that up, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
But even some of the effects are so Star Warsy that when you start fucking with those, like,
Yeah.
we need to make
Where you
this
draw the
look
line.
more like the Phantom Menace. That's what they did in
Yeah.
a lot of cases. And I'm like, ooh, don't like. When we had Vic Mignogna on the show, we were talking about his Star Trek Continue series, and I remember talking about how I was super stoked when I saw the original Star Trek series pop up on Netflix. I'm like, fuck yeah, finally. And I was so disappointed. We're like 30 seconds into it. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the right. Like they fucked with the opening, and then you start watching, and then they went to look at an approaching planet out the view screen of the bridge, and it's like this super CGI like clouds swirling around the planet. I don't want to see that. I want to see that fucking globe that they spray painted and put texture on and hung out the fucking window, because that's all part of the charm of
Yeah,
the
sure.
classic
Like,
era
what's the
Star
Star
Trek.
Wars you want? What's the Star? Or yeah, what version do you want? Where's your Star Wars? We'll play that one for you. You know?
Yeah, and you dial it in. If I'm gonna sit down and watch Star Wars, I would like to see pretty damn close to the original, but the cleaned up version. You know, like the very
Exactly.
first cleaned up version before they made Greedo shoot. I don't want to see any characters changed. I never needed the George Lucas was playing around with tools that he had at his disposal, so he was adding shit for no reason. Like there's that scene where they added the digital Jabba the Hutt, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think Han
I
Solo
don't need to see
steps
that
on his
shit.
tail or something. It's like, what was the point of that
See,
fucking scene? And it looks
you
ridiculous.
know what? Here's the thing. They shot it though, and he intended to do it. Like it was shot. He just didn't have. He couldn't
Yeah,
make the
I
effects
know,
work.
but now
So
you can't not
yeah,
see
but
it.
Jabba was a dude
but
in like a weird hairy fucking
yeah.
vest, and it
But
was
what if
like
they were able
he,
to make that look right? Is what I'm saying. Because they couldn't do it then. Maybe now.
I get where you're coming
they would have
from.
had to refilm the whole. They would have had to refilm the whole thing with the actual puppet of Jabba that they
Yeah.
had. That had like
Yeah.
four people working it, to make it look
Oh
like
yeah.
it did in Jedi.
Yeah.
Adding the
And
sweat to his fat folds. I saw
and
that.
I
I
have
watched the part. Yeah.
I have things to say about this kind of thing too, because like as you guys know, one of my favorite movies is Return of the Living Dead. And I think that you probably heard my diatribes of like last year over me trying to find an original copy, a copy
I've
with the
got it
original
somewhere.
soundtrack. And
I might,
there,
but I'm
you can imagine my displeasure when like one of the most recent times I fired up Return of the Living Dead on a streaming service, and like I've watched that movie so many times that the soundtrack and everything is like embedded in my brain, right?
Yeah, when there's a change.
And so there's a scene where there's a song by The Damned playing, and it came on, and it was like some version of a song that was kind of like that song The Damned played, but it was not The Damned. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And then there was another scene where there's a song by the Tall Boys playing, and the song is playing and the lyrics make sense with what's happening within the movie, and the people are screaming and yelling at each other, and it's like all very chaotic, and it's like, you know what I mean? And in the new version that you can see streaming, it's a different song, and there's actually a part of that scene where they cut the music out completely, and it's just like it doesn't work right,
Yeah.
And then they changed the Tar Man's voice, the fucking most iconic zombie from
That's
Return of the Living
strange.
Dead. They dubbed someone else's voice in, and I'm like, what the fuck? And it's fucking driving me mad.
The music was likely a rights issue, but changing the voice is a strange one.
That's weird, right? And it totally was a rights issue, but it's like fucking what the fuck. And I even bought like an imported double fucking DVD version of this movie from fucking England to try to fucking remedy this fact, because I was told from internet research that this version would have a version of it on there that had the original soundtrack. And unfortunately, the copy that I got was fucked up, and it like doesn't play right. It's just like,
Isn't this what BitTorrent was made for? Whatever is
Can't you
BitTorrent
get
even
on the
thing?
dark web?
It's got to be.
do you
something.
not think that do you
There you
not
go.
think
Get
that
on
I
the
went
fucking
down that
Silk Road.
Ron? Do you not think that I went down that road, Ron?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Is BitTorrent
Unsuccessfully.
even a thing anymore?
Unsuccessfully.
Well, the funny
Um,
thing is, if we do go on break, I'll take a look, and there's a pretty high chance I have a copy of that in VHS.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you
definitely
know
have
what?
it. I just don't know
Original,
where.
yeah.
I used to have a copy that I recorded off HBO like way back in the day,
I'll check-
and I don't know what happened to it. I think it's gone,
I
but
got the original VHS with the original cover. As far as I know, it's original. It definitely has all the shit that you're talking about.
there's a certain point in time where that shit was changed, and I don't know what year that was. You know what I mean?
That's a little bit
So-
different. Same annoyance and same experience, but when you have all the rights to the music and you have all the original footage in your possession, there's just no fucking reason to not. It's such
like
a fuck you to your fans. It's like, no, we are
it's like
making
that's
this
the movie. That
moral
was the
decision
film.
for
Like
you.
why? Yeah, it's it's maddening.
Now, Mark, are you
Yeah.
sure you're not having some Mandela effect thing going on here? Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
shit.
100% sure.
In
'Cause
your
I actually
universe,
have two copies
in
of the
your
soundtrack. One
timeline, John Mark, The Damned plays.
I have
I
two copies
remember
of the
it being
soundtrack,
Dead
one on
Kennedys.
cassette and one on picture disc, and The Damned is definitely on there, and so is The Tall Boys.
Oh, the Mandela effect, people. God bless. What an
You wanna-
amazing thing they've set up where they're never wrong. It's just like in your timeline. It's my favorite part. Go ahead, Lyle.
That's the best.
Can we move on to stories?
Yeah, let's get to what you guys got. And looks like timing wise, we're doing pretty good. We'll end on my little game type thing. That it's not really a game. I just thought I'd present it in a gamey way.
Well, here the first story was kind of weird, and I thought it was giving a little bit of credit to the old reptile people.
Oh,
There's
yes.
an Australian university that thinks over time that they believe that humans will soon develop oral venom. Uh,
Hmm.
Yeah, in the glands. They said it's not only snakes and frogs and spiders that could produce venom, but some mammals do as well. And they think like over time uh, that we can evolve to do something like that.
Well,
But
this changes
as
oral sex
humans,
forever.
isn't that
No
weird?
shit.
Could you imagine? But like, it gives it a lot of credibility to like lizard people.
What if all the people that have been raped over the years have somehow, who knows what goes into adaptation and evolution?
Sure.
Maybe this is like our species' way of dealing with rape. Like, I'm being serious.
Oof.
I mean, can you imagine someone sucking your dick and all of a sudden they just spit out some
Poison?
poison or acid to just do away with your shit?
Ah, I don't like it.
And if everybody knows that, because there's always the opportunity. I mean, like somebody who's being forced to suck a dick this happens in prison a lot, could bite your dick off. That's always a risk. But if everybody knew that everyone was capable of just barfing out a little bit of like something to just destroy your dick or kill you, I think most guys would be more afraid to lose their dick. By the way, I just started watching a Lorena Bobbitt documentary series. That's pretty fucking
cool.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Crazy
cut it.
story. But yeah, interesting. I mean, is that the theory that this is just part, not the rape thing, obviously, but this is just
Yeah,
part of our
like-
evolution?
It said it could be something close to like
To what?
like an
To what
evolution mark.
end?
But I'm thinking more of kind of like a maze, like it's a spit, like a venom, like a
My eyes.
burn your eyes.
That sounds to
come
me
in
like
fucking
the
handy.
Electroids from Planet 10 from Buckaroo Banzai. They spit those little spider creatures out, and they
Yeah.
stick onto you, and they poison you.
Yeah.
That's how they get Clancy Brown.
Hmm.
You know what I'm talking about?
Well,
Sure.
here's the thing.
Buckaroo Banzai.
I wouldn't
Come
mind
on.
being able to spit poison, but I don't want anyone spitting poison on me. So I
Right,
don't think
I
I
know-
like this overall.
I know some venomous people that could spit poison just as they
Oh
are.
man, can you imagine how frivolously we would use our our mouth venom? Yeah, we would not do well with that.
Yeah.
Nope.
Reptile people with the flat earthers, I'm telling you, they're real. Oh man. Hey, I'm gonna send you guys a video real quick. It's Chris, you might not like it, but
Oh,
We're-
cool.
we're gonna go over it anyway. It's one of those things I don't think you really need to watch. I'll tell you the story. You could just skim through it and kind of get an idea what's going on. But in 2017, there was a team that was looking for some oil and gas. It was an expedition to just trying to kind of cruise around the bottom of the ocean to find, obviously signs of gas and oil. And they came across the skeleton of this, and it's just before you want to, if you're looking through the video, did it send?
Where did you send it to?
It was just through our messages.
Hmm. Oh yeah, here it is.
So this, the first look at it, you would think it might be a whale.
Mhm.
Like I said, you probably don't want to play it. It's just going to be, it's just her babbling. I just kind of
Yeah, I'll
spit
mute
this.
it.
Between COVID and everything else, to finally get together, it took this long for them to get together and actually analyze this video. But what it kind of looks like, it's a whale. It's not a whale. The specimen of the spinal cord, it has a different curvature and a different separation from a whale. A whale has 3 blades where this only has 2. And the thing is that they don't really know how old it is, but it said that it has the potential of being over thousands of years old. And
How long
the
is the spinal column?
Dude, the bones are 30 meters long. Let's
Wow.
ask Siri.
Yeah, what's that
Siri,
translate into feet?
Siri,
Fucking
how
metric.
how many feet are how many? Oh shit, how what was it?
Now looking up confusion.
I mean, all fucked up. Siri, uh, 30 feet measures out in feet. How long?
Do you smell toast?
Shit.
Dude, I smell burning toast all the time.
Feet,
Oh no.
But usually other people can smell it too. There's something in town. I don't know if it's coffee roaster or something, but every now and again it
So,
just smells like the whole town smells like burning toast.
so it's 98 feet
Holy
long.
shit.
Yeah, that's fucking huge, dude. And the thing is as long as you can scroll through the video, try to scroll it towards the end a little bit more, and it'll take you to the head of this creature. And it's
Yeah, I'm
hard to
seeing
say
that.
because it looks like it's flayed out,
Well, that's
but
like
it's
that's
not
like
a
twice or three times the size of the average like big whale, right?
yeah,
I mean, aren't
yeah.
whales like closer to 30 feet? I could be
Well,
wrong about that.
26 cripplers or so.
yeah.
Yeah, that. Well, do they know that that's a head, or is that could be like some sort of shoulder thing? The whole thing just looks like a giant. It's very Star Wars, actually. Remember when C-3PO and R2 are, lost out in the Tatooine desert,
The crate
and
dragon.
then there's those giant, yeah, the bones out there. This looks kind of like that. Hmm.
Did you
90
watch
fucking feet,
Mandalorian
so
season 2, Monster?
I haven't seen Mandalorian season 1.
Oh, for fuck's sake. That's right. God damn it. The crate dragon, they put that creature in season 2. You see where those bones come from.
Oh, that's neat. They like stuff like that. Of course, with
It's cool.
new entities, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Just leave the old ones alone. Just leave it alone. Well, that's terrifying, and I'm not afraid of sea
I have
creatures.
some things to say about the whole crate dragon thing. That's
Oh.
so maybe that should
I
be
have
in the other
Save it.
podcast.
Save it.
Crate
Yeah.
dragon.
Well,
Yeah,
deep.
I'm saving that.
What's
I
I
have some discrepancies to discuss, as it
Mm.
were.
Good. Oh, good. Oh, good.
Well, what they're thinking this is actually a sea serpent.
Well, that was
I mean,
my first thought.
this could be actually like physical proof of a Nessie. You
A
know?
real sea beast.
Yeah.
The kind of thing that they've been painting, in ancient seascapes forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why?
Along with
They
the
saw
giant-
something out there, man. And this looks exactly like a fucking giant sea serpent. Although, well, yeah, who knows what's in a sea serpent? Because there aren't like bones in a snake. We think of all serpents as being like, not having like that kind of a spinal column. But who knows? How are you feeling about that, Chris?
That's relatively big. If you
Great. I didn't open it.
Oh, you didn't know?
If you look at the pictures from
It's
the
90 feet of
Explorer,
spine.
that the remote control vehicle, those spine columns are pretty fucking big.
Yeah.
If you think about it, they're probably about the size of your thigh.
Yeah, I don't want to see this creature in real life, but
That's bone. Imagine what it would be around it. It would be bigger. It would be thick. It would be probably about 4 feet thick.
well,
Just a
listen,
big beast.
we
And how
only
long-
saw we only photographed a living giant squid, like a decade or so ago?
Yeah, as well. 15
Who
years or
knows
so.
what could be down there, bruh? One of
Mhm.
these things could be living. All it takes is one. And we're like, holy God in heaven, never going in the ocean again. Because what else would that thing be built for but wrapping around something like a ship and pulling it to the
Oh.
bottom where it can snack on you?
Or a surfer. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Surfers. What part of the world was this founded?
It doesn't say. It's in one specific ocean, but I'm not sure if it
Yeah.
says doesn't say in the bulk of the story, but it might tell a little bit in the video.
Well, the colder and darker the water is, the bigger the creatures can be, which is why we have the biggest octopuses. A little further out in the Pacific, we have the biggest whales. We got the biggest squid. We have like the giant things live sort of in our neck of the woods. So I wouldn't be surprised if this thing was down in the deep, dark Pacific. But I'd be curious to see. Still haven't looked at it, huh, Chris?
Chris.
I'm not even talking about it anymore, guys.
He killed himself.
What? Oh, he killed himself.
All right. Well, anything else before we get on to my little
No, I think you're good.
feature here?
Do it.
I came across something that I thought was interesting, and I thought that I would present it in a few rounds of what Christopher sometimes does with these lists, these like stats or things ranked in order. And I came across an article about the sexiest jobs according to Tinder responses. This is just a few years old, and it breaks it down by gender, which we'll talk about after we do a little bit of the game part. And it's interesting to see that. But I'll also end with a brand new updated list from medium.com because I thought it was interesting to see how this has changed in just a few short years. But so let me grab my scorecard here. I'm going to ask you guys, no, let's forget about the female equation for now. Let's focus on what women thought, judging by how they swiped, were the sexiest jobs this was 2017. So since Christopher rarely gets to play, I'm going to let him go first. Then we're going to put
Wait,
Lyle.
that's a benefit?
Huh?
Nothing. I'm bitching.
Well, it
I'm
is
ready.
in this case because you get, if you once you pick
That's true.
the answer,
That's true.
it eliminates that from.
Don't hear the other. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm not sure. Well, then we're going to go Lyle and then John Mark. And I'm not sure how you usually score this, but the way I'm doing it is I reversed the numbers. So number one answer, we're going to do the top 15. The number one answer is worth 15 points. The 15th answer is worth 1 point. So the higher up you get, the more your points will be worth. Let's see how many of these you guys can pick off. I think most of these are pretty. I don't think there's too many surprises here. So again, in the men's column, and that's all we're going for here. So Christopher, what do you think is the number one, or at least on the top 15, according to women, sexiest jobs for men?
I mean, I'm gonna go with the cliche firefighter.
That is a cliche for a reason. It is number 3, which is worth 13 points. That leaves 2 ahead of you. Lyle, what do you think?
I'm a model because I'm too sexy for my that guy.
I'm a model. Going with model?
I'm gonna have to go with male model. Yeah.
Model is on the list at number 8, which is worth 8.
Okay.
So you're on the board there. John Mark, what say ye? Still got number 1 and number 2 on the board.
I'm going to go with doctor.
Doctor is a good guess. I was a little surprised that this was slipping a bit at number 4. But that is still worth 12 points. So you guys are doing pretty good. Next round. Christopher, number 2, number 1, still up for grabs.
I feel like I'm gonna regret this, but can I go like construction?
Construction, not on.
I don't like the way you're saying that. All right.
No, not construction, which is it's interesting because a lot of these don't necessarily correlate into how much money they make. And there's a lot of money to be made in the construction industry. Like firefighters, for example, they don't make that much money until they've earned their tenure, they whatever they call when they you can climb the ladder, both physically and rank wise, I suppose. But yeah, their salaries are usually, they start below or right at average. So it's more about the well, who doesn't love a man in uniform? And if you can save a puppy and maybe run upstairs during 9/11, I think 9/11 really locked in firefighters as a noble profession, if it already wasn't, and it was to some degree. But 9/11 really probably locked this list up for them, top 5 for at least the next 50 years.
I know a few ladies, and I know what they like is they like guys like McGuire or McGregor, like the UFC fighters.
The ones that don't shit themselves.
Exactly. I'm going to go with fighter.
Gonna go with fighter. Well, no, that is not on the list.
Hmm.
Interestingly, that leaves a big opportunity for John Mark to take a big lead because those are 2 whiffs back to back.
John Mark.
I hate to say this, but police.
Well, it's funny. Police is on the list, and I'll tell you why that's funny a little bit later. It's down the road. It's barely on the list at 14. So you do get 2 points for that one.
I'm gonna go with the one there. It was right in my face the whole time. I don't know why I didn't just say it. Graphic designer. Yeah.
Graphic
Kidding?
design.
That's a joke. That's a joke. I'm gonna go lawyer.
That is a good joke. Lawyer, very good guess. It's not as high as I would have assumed, though. It's down at 11, but that gets you 5 points. Wow. Still got number 1 and number 2.
Oh.
Number 2, I think that it's a little bit tricky. It's a very vague. It's not like a super specific job. It's more about a role. That might help you a little bit with that one. Maybe not. I don't know. It's kind of tough.
Like cinnamon roll? Like a baker? No.
Sexiest job in my book. Make me some fucking bread.
Fuck yeah. Make you some fucking goddamn, what do they call cinnamon toast crunch thing?
Sexiest job of all time. Cinnamon toast crunch maker.
I was just going to go for it with the fucking porn star, but like.
Porn star?
Well, let's do it. Porn
Is that your
star.
answer? Porn star not on the list. Yeah, I don't know if a lot of women are looking for a porn star.
Maybe I need to be more gentle and think more emotionally.
Well, yeah, you gotta try to think in terms of
woman, what she wants.
Well, good luck with that.
There you go.
I think most of these are pretty. I'll say these are real world jobs. They're not like I'll just tell you right now, rock star is not on here. Astronaut is not on here. So think, a little more real world. Not that those aren't real world things, but for most of us, they aren't.
Realistically, world.
Yeah, John Mark.
EMT or paramedic, whenever you want to.
There you go.
Paramedic, number 9 and worth 7 points. Mm-hmm. Oh. All right, Christopher.
This is hard. I'm going to go personal trainer.
Personal trainer is number 12, and that is worth 4 points. So good. Wasn't a whiff. Back to Lyle.
You kind of took mine. That's the one I was just going to say. Gym related. Like a pharmacist.
A pharmacist? Is that your guess?
No. Yeah, let's do it. Fuck it. I'm already lost.
Pharmacist is not on the list of men. It is, however, on the list of women, and I will read you. I'm going to do a side-by-side of all the women versus men. Apparently men are attracted to a woman that works in a pharmacist. I'm going to take a wild guess why that is. What's that song, the failure song, that great line? She's got everything I need, pharmacy keys. Yeah, I think that might be playing into it a bit.
Yeah.
So, no.
All right.
Not on that one. John Mark?
Architect.
Ooh, I was surprised that architect wasn't on this list too. You know what? I'm going to give, should I give this to you? I think I am going to give this to you because it should be a slash. This should be a slash between these two words. The engineer is on there. I think that's close enough. Don't you guys?
Sure.
Kind of.
Pretty damn close, yeah.
It's close. It's in that wheelhouse.
For sure.
And you guys aren't going to guess
right?
engineers.
Oh, like a designer. I mean, that's like kind of.
Yeah, but I was surprised. Architect, that's one of those things. This is very generational, very set in specific times. Like 20, 30 years ago, architecture or architect would absolutely be on this list. Probably because of the Brady Bunch. Okay, back to Christopher.
How about an everyday hero bartender?
Oh, that is an everyday hero, but no, not on the list.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I don't know. I thought that was a fucking
I was
great
actually
guess.
like mulling that in my mind too.
Well, I'll tell you this. Bartender is a notoriously hookup heavy job. That comes up in when people are talking about jobs that you're likely to get laid a lot if you do. Bartender's high up there, but remember this is Tinder, but that's because of, you're going to be interacting with all these people, often drunk, and if you're good at your job, that can be appealing. You can be part therapist, you can be part showboat if you're mixing cocktails.
Oh, I
It's
got a
always
good one.
attractive
I
to
got a
see
good one if
somebody.
no one else guesses it. I got a
Yeah,
good one.
well, you got Lyle first, so
You
see
probably
if he
still
shoots it
good,
down.
dude. Just keep it in your mind. I'm gonna go with and God, because it could go all different ways. But the word I think I'm gonna describe it as a musician. I want to say like a rapper, but like a musician.
No, not on this list.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
again, I think that the overall, yeah, plenty of people are on Tinder to hook up, but if you're looking for a relationship, if you're looking for a musician, aim
Well, we all
higher. Aim
story.
higher in terms of security in just about all walks of life. Security in your relationship, security in how much time you're going to see that person, financial. So, no, not on this list. But there is something very, very close. And it's a weird one. I'll be surprised if you guys get this one, but it's in that wheelhouse. John Mark, what were you thinking?
I was thinking something else, but since what you just said, I'm going to say conductor.
Conductor. No. Do you mean train or in front of an orchestra?
Like orchestra conductor.
What century is this? Like
Well, you
idea.
said wheelhouse, like
After would be
the
like,
person who
Well,
makes the whole orchestra go. Like,
fair enough. I did say wheelhouse. Well, that's John Mark's first whiff, which you guys
damn it.
needed because he's well in the lead at this point. But Christopher's not too far off. Lau, you got some catching up to do. We'll do. Well, we can do the whole round if we want. But let's do a few more anyway. Round 6, Chris. We still
Pilot?
haven't. Oh, say it again.
Pilot?
Number one answer is pilot.
Fuck yeah, get fucked.
Good job. I wouldn't have thought of pilot. I don't think it ever would have occurred to me.
Yeah.
That is the number one sexiest job according to Tinder. And I double checked this with a few other lists, and pilot was significant or consistently in the top 3, usually at number 1 in recent times. So
I wonder what.
the ladies are into a guy that can fly.
Just gotta work that joystick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, that helped you out big time because that was worth 15 points.
see, that seems to me like what you were talking about before, like somebody who's never home and can he's out all the time, he's gone, he could be doing who knows what, I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. To me, a pilot, I feel like getting off of a 9-hour flight, he's more likely just going to get something to eat, crash, be at the plane back the next early morning. Not so much with the musician.
If you think of the opposite, think about a stewardess. Now that's hot, So,
Stewardess is nothing. No.
What? Stop it.
Lyle, your turn.
Well, damn. I thought we finished.
Well, we're getting down to some. There's still a couple of pretty obvious ones that a lot of people feel are in a heroic field.
How about Jerry was a race car driver?
Not a bad guess, actually, but no. One too many cars one night, wrapped himself around the telephone pole. No, Jerry was not a race car driver on this list. But listen, I'm sure that they get plenty of action. Race car drivers. Well, all these industries do, really. But, John Mark, back to you.
Veterinarian.
That's a good guess, but no, I am not seeing veterinarian on this list.
I'm going to say, I know we already said doctor, but what about nurse?
Nurse is not on this list, but it was on a bunch of other lists. I think this one probably is combining nurse, doctor, anybody in the medical field, but it did differentiate between doctor and nurse on another list. So it's a good guess, but no points.
What about a dentist?
Ooh, not a bad trade, but not on the list. Not a sexy.
Do Damn.
Yeah, Lyle, you need a miracle here. You need to get number 2 is still open. If you can catch that and maybe number 5, you're looking pretty good to catch up. But right now, it's definitely between Chris and John Mark. After John Mark goes, I'll do a quick tally and see where we're at.
Fuck, I don't know, man, anymore. Like electrician.
Electrician is another one of those that it's like, it pays good and it's good job security, but not sexy. In spite of all the times it's been used in porn. Electricians, cable guys, very much an overused
Nikola
trope
Tesla.
in the porn world. Okay, let's see where we're at here. Christopher has 37 points. Lyle has 8. Didn't need my calculator for that one. That's a lot of goose eggs, Lyle. But like I said, number 2 and number 4 are still available. You could get caught up. John Mark has 23. So Chris is in a significant lead. Let's do a few more. We gotta try to at least get the top 5.
Okay. I think I have a guess.
Okay, well, it's your turn, so let's hear it.
Teacher.
Oh shit, you might have just taken it away.
Boom
Teacher is
shakalaka,
number
my brother.
6, which is worth 10 points, which brings you to 47. We'll keep track of that score as we go. But let's try a few more. We still got number 2 and number 5. These might be tricky to guess, but again, just think about what impresses you, or turns you on about what somebody does with their life. Lyle?
I'm trying to think of the word. Well, no, I mean, because like I would say like a seamstress or something like that, but that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about somebody that like spends their life in like industry, like doing fashion with clothes.
Fashion? Mm-hmm.
Clothes.
Yeah,
You know,
like a
like
designer, you mean?
good. Yeah, I guess.
Well,
Yeah, I suppose that's.
but no, designer is I think most people in any gender would agree that being a successful or even an up-and-coming fashion designer, it's a pretty sexy job.
Yeah.
And that whole world, runways and models, periodicals, fashion magazines. It's a good guess, but no, not on this list.
How about chef?
Another one that I was super surprised was not on this list. That's
What the fuck?
in reality show days, chefs became like rock stars. Anthony Bourdain. I can't tell you how many fucking young, beautiful women have told me how badly they wanted to fuck Anthony Bourdain. This old dude that cooks food and talks about traveling and all the things that are great in life. Very appealing.
Well,
not on the fucking list, though. Yeah, that's a shocker.
Well, the whole
I got
thing.
one that. Okay.
Well, I was just gonna say the whole thing of like you always could get to a man's heart by their stomach or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with women too.
Oh, absolutely.
Same way. Because there's a lot of women out there that
make them dinner, make them breakfast. No.
Yeah. Make them laugh, make them breakfast.
Being good at cooking food is sexy no matter what. Being good at anything is attractive. But food, yeah, God, it speaks to us on so many different levels. And it's like we've all had to, whether it's a peanut butter parfait or, something at a fine restaurant where you just take that first bite and you're like, oh my God. You feel it in your entire body. That's definitely hitting on similar notes to something sexual. And the intimacy of this person took the time to cook for me. They cooked something that they know that I would like or that I could eat. They took my allergies or my distaste for seafood or whatever into consideration. They took the time to prepare this meal for me. That's that's kind of an honor, even if it's something that's thrown together on a Tuesday night. Food is a huge love language for a lot of people. So I was shocked that it wasn't on this list. And I can't remember if it's on the new list. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. We'll get to that in a little bit, though. All right, so 47 to 8 to 23. Let's do a couple more rounds. If John Mark starts catching up, maybe we'll finish the list. But I got a feeling Christopher's about to take it away. But that could change.
I'm gonna go with therapist.
Interesting. No, therapist is not on this list. Another good guess, and something that a lot of people look for in a partner. For better or worse. I wonder how that is for people who are therapists. If they go home after a day of being a therapist, which is probably a pretty draining, um, you know, heavy job, especially at times. I wonder if they go home and they have to be therapists to whoever their partner is or their kids.
Sure.
Or I wonder if that, or who knows, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe I'm looking at it in the negative light. Maybe they're so passionate about it that they do come home and they try to therapeutically get and connect with their children or their coworkers or their, people that aren't their clients. You never know. But yeah, very, I can see that being a sexy job on some level, but not on this list. Not on Tinder. Got to remember, this is Tinder. So where are we at, Lyle?
Yeah, somewhere I didn't really check around my own back pocket, but I should have, and I'm gonna go with photographer.
Photographer is not on the list, but another
this-
good guess. Yeah. Well, all of these I think are good answers, and I agree. I think they're all sexy jobs. You're for not necessarily famous, but if you're words. Thank God it's almost Chris's. Oh shit. If you're a successful photographer in that kind of like freelance, exciting field, it doesn't really matter what you take photos of, flowers or, you're a war photographer, journalist, or you do pinup photography. That's all pretty sexy for sure. Not on the list though. John Mark. The rest of these are pretty utilitarian, and there's yeah,
utilitarian, huh?
Well, not necessarily literally, just not glamorous so much as I think we've checked off most of the obvious and glamorous ones, but there's a few on there. Again, I think a couple of them got to be more broad, and a few of these are shockers. So think about what you can do with your life that may look sexy to other people. That's not necessarily a career most of us would even think of as a career.
I'm waffling between two different things right now, but I'm going to go with the one that's probably not the one that's on there, and neither of them probably are, honestly, since I'm going to go with archaeologist.
Archaeologist, not scoring the ladies on Tinder.
There we go.
That'll get you certain chicks. That's for sure.
Indiana Jones, come on!
Yeah, well, it doesn't hurt to be Harrison Ford.
They don't like those dry bones, if you know what I'm saying. Those dry bones, they don't like that.
Yeah, oddly enough, archaeologists not getting boned.
That's
good.
I'm torn between two answers here. I'm going to go with computer programmer.
That's funny that you say that, and I'll let me make a note of it because I don't think it has to do with the list.
Tell us why.
Well, actually, I'll just do a quick aside
cool.
here. This list was just done by either Forbes or there's a bigger magazine or website that is known for doing these kinds of lists, and they just listed, I think it was last year, the sexiest job was database manager or God, what was it? It was like, let me just look it up real quick. Sexy job database. And it was like, okay, well, what do database people do? They're good at like fudging numbers. So of course, sexy database job at some point is going to pop up. Data scientist. Okay, I was a little wrong here. So let me read this real quick. This is, I guess it wasn't last year. This was a few years back, but this was in the running for quite a while. Data scientist, the sexiest job of the 21st century. The people who can coax treasure out of messy, unstructured data. I don't know. Doesn't sound that sexy to me, but take me back to their fucking, 8-story mid-century paradise home on the cliff of some tropical island that they flew me to in their private helicopter, and maybe I'd change my mind. Sounds like a job that probably has a pretty high pay ceiling. So, but anyway, I thought that was kind of...
So points or no points? Not on the list? Fuck.
Nope, sorry. Computer
points.
All that
programmer.
for nothing?
Well, I don't know. No, it's not on the list either way, but It's not that. Listen, if data, I can't even. Data scientist was on the list, I would give you computer programmer, but it's not. Let's do a couple more rounds. I think we know how this is going to go, but
I want to say like maybe like a professional golfer or something. How about a baseball player?
Athlete is a good guess. Not on here either, though. Yeah, like I said, this was a very surprisingly utilitarian list. It didn't have all those like big grandiose things. Even astronaut wasn't on here. So net. All right.
What about author or writer?
Ooh, another good one. No, not on here.
Son of a bitch.
I think.
Okay.
I think that's good to call it. Well, how about we do?
Wait. Oh.
Okay, one more round. It'll be fair to let you all know that this is the last one. So pull it out. Anything that you think, because we still have number 4, or no, we still have number 5 and number 2. Like I said, I think these might. Number 5 is a job. It's more specific. Number 2 is like I said, it's a bit more of a role or a description of. I can't really think of a better way to word it.
Politician?
Boy, I thought politician was on this list, but no.
Okay.
No politicians.
Okay. We went to pilot. How about we go captain, like a ship's captain?
No.
Like a crabber, somebody that goes up to sea.
Since you can't possibly catch up, Lyle, I'm going to give you a chance to modify that answer. And it's so low on the list, it wouldn't help John Mark catch up with Christopher anyway. So I'm going to give you a chance to modify that answer into an answer that's actually on here.
Oh, man.
More specific, what kind of vessel? What kind of captain?
Crab.
It was a drab. Oh, that's fair.
So many ships that go out for squid, they go out for crab, they go out for like.
I'm just gonna say this one because it's only worth 1 point. It ain't gonna mess up anything. Military was number 15. That's what I was trying to steer you toward. No pun intended. Which would have brought your total up to 9. But you shall remain at 8. John Mark, last chance. Let's see. I guess you can't catch up anyway. But let's see if you can get one of these top 5 that we still have missing.
I'm just artist.
That's a good one. Yeah, oddly enough, I don't think artist popped up on any of these. Neither did magazine publisher. But
surprising.
I will tell you what did, and it's sort of tied to magazine publisher. Number 2 was a founder of a business or an entrepreneur.
What the fuck?
That one's tough, but I get it. I mean, it's attractive when you see somebody that's a self-starter. They've built their own business, no matter what it is.
That's not even a job.
I know. That's why it was tricky. Yeah. Number 4, or number 5 was TV or radio personality. That's the one that I was trying to steer you toward, maybe. But even that one a little generic. So let's real quick go through the whole list because I want to compare it to the female side of things. So number 1 for men is a pilot. Number 1 for a woman is physical therapist. Men prefer, or I should say, people who. Let me try to do this in a modern language. People who swiped white. Swiped white. That is not modern. Go ahead, Lyle.
Swiped white.
I thought we were going for what the women like.
Yeah, we did. That was for men. See, okay, let me word this differently. No, you guys were doing it right. That first list, the list you guys just did was jobs that people who swipe right on men are attracted to. Now, if that's gay men, trans, or women who are swiping right on men, that's how I'm trying to word this. So anyone who swipes, number 1, God, why is this so hard to say? People who swiped right on women, the number 1 job was physical therapist. So people who want women want them to touch them and rub them and make them well. Number 2 for men was founder, entrepreneur. 2 for women was interior designer, which I thought was kind of interesting. Men mostly men, are attracted to women who are interior designers. 3 for men was firefighter. 3 for women was founder entrepreneur. So people aren't quite as interested in women who are founders and entrepreneur, but not by much. It's a 1 point difference. Number 4 was doctor for men. Number 4 for women was PR and communications. 5 for men was TV and radio personality. 5 for women was teacher. 6 for men was teacher, and 6 for women was college student. Now, this is another one of those ones that was like, that's not a job, but it kind of is. There are people who are in college for 15 years. So, when you meet them, date them, and sometimes marry them, they could still be a college student. But I thought that was interesting. It was up so high on the list for like people seeking women who are college students. I guess other college students, that might be a better matchup. Maybe a college student doesn't want somebody who's a successful doctor. They want somebody that's kind of figuring out their own shit along the way too. I just thought it was interesting that it didn't match up. 7 for men was an engineer. 7 for women was speech or language pathologist. 8 for men was model. 8 for women was pharmacist. 9 men paramedic. 9 women social media manager. Isn't this interesting, the differences? I found this fascinating. Now, college student did show up for men, but that was at number 10. And 10 for women was model. 11 for men was lawyer, and 11 for women was something that one of you guessed, a dental hygienist. Dental hygienist. Not even a dentist, just a dental hygienist is one of the highest. It's strange to me. 12 for men, personal trainer. 12 for women, nurse. 13.
On that whole dental hygienist thing, though, that'd be rough. It'd be like a gynecologist and getting, I don't know, but with like making out, it'd be like weird,
Like, oh, your canines.
Well, you just get something that's gingivitis.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It'd always be telling you to floss.
Think about it. You get like narcissistically about it after like a long time of doing it.
Well, we all bring our work home to some degree. Number 13 for men was financial advisor. Nobody guessed that one. 13 for women was a flight attendant. Someone did guess that, but that was for a different list. 14 for men was police officer. 14 for women was personal trainer. And 15 military for men. 15 for women, a real estate agent. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but I found it fascinating. Now, here is the newest list that I could find. This was from medium.com. Teacher comes in. This is for both genders. This is an amalgam. Teacher comes in at 10. Number 9 is librarian.
Hot.
Number 8 would have worked well for Christopher, construction worker.
Yeah.
Number 7, and I think John Mark called this one, is an author. Very different list. Number 6, well, to some degree. Number 6 is a doctor. Number 5 is a nurse. Number 4 is a pilot. 3 is firefighters. Firefighters tend to hang in around 3. Being beat out by entrepreneurs and self-starters and pilots on the last list. In this one, they're beat out by, and this was a surprise to me in this day and age, police officers.
Weird.
You wouldn't think that would be super popular, but ending this list, being a masseuse or a physical therapist.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was interesting because some of these are kind of nerdy, like librarian and, teachers on there. And I don't know. Maybe it seemed like it was getting a little bit more nerdy, but then you got construction worker, which is very practical. Author, it's kind of more nerdy and arty. So it does seem like the trends are changing a little bit. But
can you guys remember the last time you used Tinder? What the majority of the girls that you swiped right, what they did for a living? Because I can't. I remember mine.
I feel like so many people would say what was it? It became kind of a joke. It was like project manager. I think like every single profile just said project manager or something like that. Like, what the
Yeah.
fuck does that mean?
The
That
the
sounds
one that
generic.
the one that I had that was pronouncedly it was good. It was a good percentage of the women that I actually did was attracted to worked at Microsoft. Weird.
Mm-hmm.
There's like 10 of them, and they all worked at Microsoft. I do remember that, but
Yeah,
I haven't.
we
I
got those
haven't
big
used
data
that.
centers up here now. So,
What do we do? I mean, it's Washington. There, that's
Mhm.
where it is. So
what do you guys? Let's go around the horn. What's a job that you guys specifically? Let's pick one that you think is a sexy job for women. For a women.
Or a women.
One of my pet peeves is when guys pronounce the word women or as woman and vice versa. Sorry that I just did that. But specifically, for you guys, while you're thinking about that,
I'll
because I
tell you
just
what.
threw it out, I think mine would be a bit more generic, like entrepreneur, and like if they owned their own business, and if it was a successful business, especially one that I'd heard of, even more so. Stability, but also just drive and ambition, and that would tell me that we're probably likely to match up on busyness. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
attracted to
my
go-getterness.
my partner is a massage therapist
Yeah,
and an
number one on the
interior
list.
designer and a in the medical profession. So, it's kind of like,
And at night, a cop.
what I'm saying?
wrapped it all together.
Honestly, I
He's picking his lady.
I don't
Mhm.
think that like profession ever really entered in the equation for me. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
that's a fair point, and I agree. But if you have to take a peek and you'd see what
But
she
the
was doing.
person that I'm most attracted to in this world just happens to be those three things. So
Mhm.
Oh,
I
thanks,
don't know
man.
what I don't know what that says, but
Chris.
Was that to you, Chris?
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Chris, what do you think?
Oh man, definitely like a teacher, but like probably one of the like K through third or fourth grade,
Like it's
because they're
That's-
fucking freaks. Like somebody has to deal with kids that has patience because
Mhm.
A, I'm a child, and B, I think I've heard stories that preschool kindergarten teachers are fucking freaks.
Yeah, that is a story, or
theory.
I guess a stereotype or a legend.
I
I can tell you
hypothesis.
this, especially after running a bar, teachers can fucking drink, man. And they probably need to more than most of us. Teacher. Oh, interesting. Lyle, what say you? I'm thinking stripper
Bouncing that ass on the floor.
Oh fuck.
or is it stripper?
Do it no more. Huh? Yeah. No. Um.
I think that's-
Dialysis tech.
You, you know
some people love
what? Actually,
strippers.
hot nurse would be really up there. But
Hot
for some
nurse.
fucking strange reason, like, and this is just the '80s man in me.
Yeah.
It's a waitress, a hot waitress in a tight uniform.
Oh boy.
Okay, well
And
that's your
it is-
fetish, but like
and-
relationship wise, that's
I could do that.
okay.
Maybe it's just a flashback of better times.
Let me be clear.
I
I'm
know.
not indicating that waitresses wouldn't make great partners. I'm just saying let's be clear on what the rules here are. A
Well,
job
it's
that
something
you're
that knows, like I'm just thinking maybe out loud too much.
waiter and waitress is another job that's way up there in terms of getting laid. Again, the atmosphere, the environment, the opportunity to meet new people, get to know people.
Well,
That's up
I'm
there.
just turn on. Maybe it's like a bad '80s movies I saw as a kid. Too many
So it
times.
is kind of a fetish. Listen, that's fair. You're turned
Mhm.
on to what you're turned on to.
Yeah.
If I found out that somebody was a professional, like one of these people that worked up in Leavenworth and they had to wear a dirndl every day, I have a strange attraction to Bavarian clothing.
Mm.
At least the tacky, our Americanized, sexualized version of tacky Bavarian clothing.
True.
Now,
Like
that's like a sexual
Oktoberfest
attraction.
Lederhosen. What are you talking like?
Yeah. Hmm.
They
Oh yeah.
I used to have a rule when I first started like going gung ho on Tinder. I didn't care what they looked like. I didn't care what they did for a living. I didn't care where they even lived. If they were in a dirndl, it was a rule. I had to swipe right.
Fair enough.
Just
Fair
had to. That goes back to some deep-rooted things in my childhood that I'm not going to get into now, only because we're about at the 2-hour mark. And I've probably talked about it before. I was sort of hooked on that Bavarian softcore porn. That was some of my first experiences with. It's not even porn. It's like,
I
kind
don't
of like
remember
Porky's.
hearing about this, but now I really want to.
Well, that's kind of it. I mean, it was just these shows. I used to go stay at, whenever I would stay at my friend's house who had cable. We didn't have cable. And I was always an insomniac. Even from like when I was 12, 13 years old, I started developing insomnia. So I'd go over, hang out at their house. We'd watch horror movies. We'd fuck around. We'd sneak out and go raise hell. And then we'd come back in and it'd be about 1:30 in the morning, whatever. Everyone else would fall asleep and I'd be up. So I'd just turn on that remote control and make my way to Skinamax. And back in the day, Skinamax and HBO was an education for a young man. It was nothing but these stupid titty comedies. And more often than not, they would be this, probably because they were cheap to obtain. And they're like, who's watching TV at 3 a.m.? Just put these fucking cheesy, terribly dubbed Bavarian porn. The only one I can remember the name of, and it's a classic, is called 2069, A Sex Odyssey. Look it up. You can find it. It's on Pornhub, actually. I watched it on Pornhub not too terribly long ago.
But still slap?
It was... I know I still slapped. You never forget your first porn. And that was kind of, aside from the occasional magazine that you'd find snooping around underneath your uncle's bed, you found what you found, and that stuff was on late at night, and it made a big imprint on me. So yeah, that's a fetish though. I mean, like, if I was looking for somebody, if I was really thinking about like something that I would be attracted to career wise, pretty much anything that they were a self-starter. They were just out doing their thing, because I know what that fucking takes. And I think, I think it'd be a good matchup, and I respect that. I respect that you just get up and do the fucking work, and you don't ask permission. You don't wait for someone to give you a handout. You just fucking do it. That's always attractive to me. And apparently attractive to a lot of people. It beat firemen on the Tinder list. Wouldn't have expected that. And I would wager that most lists would probably have that further down. Firefighters, still, you may not be making a ton of money. At least that first few years, you're going to be doing the grunt work, washing all the trucks. But if you can work your way up to a pretty decent living. I think I looked some of these up, and the average firefighter makes, I think they start at slightly below average, but they can go up to a pretty good living wage. Yeah, Chris jokingly said graphic design. There was a time when that would absolutely be on the list, but now it's become a joke. It's now what it tops is the most useless degrees you could hold. The most useless degrees of all time are consistently arts and graphic design degrees. At one point,
goddamn travesty is what it is.
Well, at one point, everyone wanted to be a graphic designer, and then I think supply overtook the demand. Photoshop getting easier to use, and all these apps. Good Lord, you can do shit. It still just blows my mind, the looks and the things that people can create with Instagram just by a couple of clicks. Like, God, that looks amazing. I remember 20 years ago, I had to spend 3 fucking hours in Photoshop just tweaking and looking up tutorials and like, how do you get this look? How do you make that fade in with that color? And how do you bring up those contrasts? That was all like manual shit you had to tweak. Now there's filters. You just drop on it. It's mind blowing. That also killed graphic design.
You still have to, here's the thing though, is that you still have to have the eye, and you still have to have the creativity to do it right. You know what I'm saying? Like any fucking buddy can make a fucking logo, but it's like, not anybody can make a good logo. You know what I'm saying? But like the problem is that there's so many people out there that can't discern the difference between a good logo and a bad logo, that it's like that's where we're at with the problem that you were just describing, right? It's just like anybody can produce something, but they can't produce something good. But there's so many people out there that can't tell the difference between what's good and bad. That's the problem.
Besides that, there's apps that like you could it does like straight video editing for you. So you just get your clips and you put all your clips into one, and it'll produce all the music for it. It'll do all the transitions for you, and it's literally instant.
Doesn't make it good.
No, but
it
like
doesn't make it good, but it does devalue the craft of the people who are doing it manually. Yeah. I mean, there's no way around it. I'm one of those people, and I can acknowledge it. I was like, fuck. You know, a lot of the things that I used to do with graphic design professionally, it's obsolete because people have apps that will basically produce the same look. Yeah. Are they going to get, is it going to be
them because they're uneducated motherfuckers?
Well, from your lips to God's mouth. You don't have to convince me. I mean, I'm on team do it manually and hire an artist to do it. But I also understand why people now just want to do it themselves because they can. And sometimes it looks pretty fucking good.
Well, it's the same thing with photography. I mean, I've spent thousands.
Probably more so with photography than anything else.
Yeah, on good cameras and everything else. And then like, some Joe Smo goes to a wedding and he shoots a whole wedding on his cell phone. Yep. You know, because he's a
professional photographer. Mm-hmm. The other thing about that too is the undercutting of the industry, and I'm of two minds about that. Because, you used to have to pay, if you wanted good photos, you're going to pay $1,000, maybe more, $1,500, easily more, but at least several hundred to $1,000 for a photographer to come out, shoot. You'd get your prints and you'd get the hard drive in the later days. And now it's just like, you hire, who do we know in the family that's a photographer?
Your fucking cousin.
That's how people do it now.
Johnny can take good pictures. He has good pictures on his fucking MySpace.
And most of those people aren't charging $1,000. They'll be like, I'll show up and give me $350 and let me have all the drinks I want at the reception, and I'll get you some pretty kick-ass wedding photos.
You get what you pay for, and if what you're getting is what is like okay to you, then fine, I guess. But
I guess that's the bottom line. What do you want?
Yeah.
Anywho,
doesn't make it right.
On some episodes, we do just sound like old curmudgeons that are just shaking our fists at all the youngins coming up, and I don't want to sound like that too much, but there's something to be said about the philosophy shift in especially the creative world, where the artistic eye and the individual artistic talent and skill is taking a back seat to, well, I like the way his photos look, let's go with him, or we know a guy.
Dude,
that's how most gigs are done these days.
That should be a generational thing where we should call it the YouTube generation, where they say, I don't know, just YouTube it, because that's the thing. There was a couple people at my work that I worked with. I want to say 5 years ago, and this kid would always be on his YouTube and trying to like how to make fittings, like sheet metal fittings. He'd be all over it. I'll just look it up on YouTube and be like YouTube. So it's like, a guy could possibly walk into a career not going to school, never touching, and just YouTubing videos on watching how to do it, and then just do it.
Yeah, I do it almost daily.
Yeah,
there's always something. For me, the most of what I YouTube isn't techniques or how-tos in that regard. It's mostly like, how the fuck do I get this one menu that I made go away, come back? I'm constantly looking up shit like that. Especially now that I'm on the cloud and Photoshop and like shit, I live in these programs and they're constantly updating now. And I don't necessarily I could set it to not do that, but I don't know. More and more, it's just like I want things to just stay the same a while. And every time I figured something out, it's like, it just changes a little bit and then it fucks you all up. Anywho, old curmudgeons shaking the fist at the youngins. Sexiest job alive. Data scientists.
Podcaster.
You heard it here first. Ladies, go get yourself a data scientist. So say the data scientists. Anyway, let's get on out of here. Tune in next week. We will be talking about 9/11, y'all. And won't that be fun? And we do appreciate all your feedback on Facebook. We'll bring up some of that when we get back to Weird Trivia next week. You guys had some great feedback about what else you're listening to the show and what you liked about the show. Talk about that more next week. RadarStationArt@gmail.com to send any of your, I suppose, vague email feedback or otherwise stories if you want to share. Christopher. Remind me your email for weird trivia stories.
Christopher.bizarre@gmail.
And that'll do. We'll see y'all next week.
Good night, guys.
Yeah.
Good night.
Bye.
Oddly enough, archaeologists not getting boned.